You're too kind, and you know, I'm not as cool as he said I am. I'm pretty much a down-to-earth game developer. I've been developing games for 11 years already, and I founded iDreamsky in 2009, focusing on publishing games in China. We have been quite successful in bringing some of the Western titles like Fruit Ninja, Temple Run, Subway Surfer, we're also moving on to Korea now, bringing Cookie Run into China. So today I want to share with you on how to be successful in China and some of the key things that you need to be aware of when you work in China by yourself or with a publisher. Is your publisher doing this for you, or have you considered these kind of problems that you're going to face in China? So a little bit introduction of iDreamsky. So right now we have over 140 million iOS user base with 300 million Android user base. We have over 3 games on the top 10. We have over 3 games on the top 10 charts on various China App Store. We're the #1 revenue driving for the carrier billing that was just explained by my games, and our currently monthly turnover is over 12 million US. So the first thing is, you know, in the West, a lot of the developer, or especially Korean developer, they never think bandwidth is an issue for the smartphone situation. So this is a chart showing you an average salary of a Chinese citizen, and an average salary of a Korean citizen, and an average salary of a US citizen. So in order to get a 5G data plan, so you have 5 GB of data to use in China, on 3G network, it will cost you $100 US. All right, currently with China Mobile or any sort of operators, that's 15% of his monthly income. All right, if you do it in US, you do it in Korea, it's 1.7%. So you can see that a lot of Chinese users, of course, would not afford this kind of money for a 3G data plan or a 5G data plan. So most of them, what do they get? They get maybe 100 megabyte, and that will be a good data plan for them already. Now imagine if they're getting 100 data byte and they're downloading your game that is 60 meg. To them, even if your game is free, it's not free to them. You're taking up 60% of their monthly data plan. So, you know, and on the other hand is like game size, other than your game size is going to affect your conversion ratio because people don't have that much of data plans, then they will use Wi-Fi to download your games, but then that means it limits the download usage of your games. Like they can't download your games on the bus. And with casual games, actually a lot of these casual games, when you're on the subway, you see someone playing a cool game, you want to download it, and then we realize that by downloading this game is going to take up 60% or even 100% of all your data for the month. You're not going to do it, right? The other problem that you have is with a lot of casual games, you have a lot of internet connections. And you know, using a megabyte or maybe 5 megabyte an hour of playing the game seems like a very normal situation. In fact, 5 megabyte is kind of small for Western standard. But again, if you think about from a Chinese player, if he plays 5 games a week, over a month, each game takes 5 megabyte in an hour. 100 megabyte is not good. It's not good enough for him. So he's going to be very, very cost conscious on how much bandwidth consumption your game uses, and he's also going to be very conscious of how big your game is. So you know, one of our Chinese player have also, Zhu Kong have also said culturalization is really, really important in China. And why is it so important? So let's look at some of the difference of Chinese and the Western culture. So on the side, you see a pizza from Italy. And every time a Milan partner comes to China, when they look at the pizza in China, they go like, whoa, this is not a pizza. This is abomination. All right. Some of my Yahoo friends in the early days, when they come to China and they look at the Sina webpage, which is basically kind of a clone of the Yahoo West page back then, they look at it and say like, why is there so many words? It's so crowded with words. It's all words. There's almost no image. Why is that, right? So, you know, the reason is because of this. a lot of people think that, although China is open up, a lot of Westerner goes to China, but actually the Chinese people that really understand the Western culture or is really intact with the international culture is still limited to a couple provinces in China, like Shanghai, Beijing, Guangzhou, or Shenzhen, which is the international city, the tier 1 city. But then when you look at suburb, the tier 2 city, the tier 3 city, where actually most of your user base, if you want to be success in China, is there. They actually don't have that much of information of the West. They don't. To them, pizza is what I just showed you. This. Actually, when they go to Italy, they will say like, this pizza is not traditional pizza. And I've met a lot of these Chinese people. So if you don't culturalize your game, you might work on the first tier city, but when you go into the second and the third tier city where most of the population is, your game starts falling apart. And another interesting statistic is that actually, if we look at Tencent's recent annual report, a lot of the money is actually made in the second tier and third tier city. Why? You might ask, like, shouldn't the first tier city people have more money to spend? They're richer, they're more educated, they should be spending more money. But that's not the truth. The truth of first tier city player is they get all kinds of entertainment forms. They can go karaoke, they can go to bar, they go to disco, they go out to have dinner with their girlfriends. They have lots of things to spend their money on. Second is because of all this information they get, they actually change this game really rapidly. Today is Angry Bird, tomorrow is Fruit Ninja. The next day maybe he saw a friend playing Temple Run, he started playing Temple Run. So it's very hard to it's very hard to maintain a high retention in first tier city. But when you go to the second tier, the third tier, even the fourth tier city where they don't get a lot of information on a daily basis, they may get like Western information like only like on a monthly basis. When you hit them, when they start playing your game and when they pay for your game, they actually stay in your game for over a month. And because they don't have that much money they don't have elsewhere money to spend, they spend it in games. So what we also find out is the disposable income for games in the second tier and the third tier city is actually higher than the first tier city. In the first tier city, we will call a well that has spent over 10,000 renminbi a well. In the second tier city, it starts from 550,000. Some of our most paying user is actually in coal mines province that he spent over 1 million renminbi playing our games every month. Just call us directly and say, I want to deposit 1 million renminbi playing your games. Now, other than culturalization, actually the more important part is the monetization strategy. So this is a case of Temple Run. So when we got Temple Run last year at February, Keith added this revive mechanism, which is you use a gem. When you die, there's a pop-up saying, do you want to save me? If you want to save me, there's a gem. And there's also a time bar, which is kind of like pushing you to decide, do you want to revive right now? And as you revive, the gem count increases. And I'm sure everyone here have played Temple Run, so I don't need to go in detail. We launched this version of Temple Run in China. What we realized later on with our data analytic tells us is actually a lot of people press save me the first time. And then, because they don't have gems, what happens is they get a pop-up. The pop-up say how many gems you want to buy. You want to buy 50 gems, you want to buy 100 gems, you want to buy 500 gems, you want to buy 1,000 gems. And a lot of people actually dropped from that point onward. They just decide like, you know what, I'll restart the game. Now, actually, if you think about it, this save me mechanism, and it's being used in a lot of games, it's actually a very impulsive buying behavior, right? I mean, you can restart your game, it takes you like 2 minutes, and why pay for it, right? It's impulsive. It's that very moment you feel like I'm in such a good feeling, I got to this high score already, I got so far already, I want to revive right now, and no matter how much it is, I will revive, right? So it's an impulsive buying behavior, and the impulsive buying behavior means that person is going to give you 3 seconds. If you make a decision duration more than 3 seconds, then it doesn't fit with an impulsive buying behavior. So what we did is, instead of using gems, we also provide an extra button which is called Quick Revive. Instead of using gem, you can just press that button and it directly builds on your SMS. $1, 1 renminbi per time. That's it. You don't need to think about like it's increasing over time. You don't need to put in your user ID. You just press it, done, you go. You start playing. That avoids people from buying gems. Second thing is we give them more reason. It's an impulsive buying behavior, right? How can you increase that impulsive buying behavior? Explain to him like, hey, you're now on the top of 35% on the whole scoreboard. You know, how much more do you need to get to exceed your friend's best score? That will increase the impulsive buying behavior. Whoa, I'm so close to Chris. I've spent so much time beating Chris. I'm like just 10% from Chris. I will buy the gems right now. Now, over time, what happens is a very interesting situation happen is over time, people start pressing the 1 renminbi per pop. And then after 5 to 6 times, he start realizing and say like, okay, I spent 6 renminbi already. I revived 6 times. But if I buy gems with 6 renminbi, how many times can I revive? Oh, actually, I can revive 20 times. Then that becomes a logical buy, right? He start going into the app store and say like, okay, I can buy 100 gems for 6 renminbi, or I can buy $20, 20 renminbi and I get like 500 gems. Well, I've used 6 renminbi in the past hour already. I may as well just buy the biggest pack. So after all these conversion, after all these changes of the monetization hooks, it turned out that we have a much better revenue generating. A lot of users start going to the gem store because he don't have enough gems. He actually go there voluntarily and buy a big gem pack instead of just buying the small gem pack. Now, then some people will tell me like, well, Jeff, then China is all about putting a lot of monetization hook, trying to make the game milking as much money as possible, trying to make the game so hard, all right, and every level you need to kind of use money to revive. Now, that would work if you don't care about your brand integrity. If you want to make a game that is all about like, you know what, I don't care, I just want money. Now, this is a statistic that we got from 360. So Temple Run 2 that is distributed by iDreamsky have been downloaded over 100 million times just on 360. And there's 3,000 negative reviews over a year. And this is Plant vs. Zombie, and they got 50 million downloads over time, and they already is pushing 3,000 negative reviews. And for brand integrity, if you're thinking about you have merchandise, right? You are going to do offline events. Having all these negative reviews is not going to be good for you. Another case is then some people will come tell me and say like, you know what, I care about brand integrity so much that, you know what, I'm not going to put any monetization hooks. And because my game is so successful in my own country, it might work, you know. If I just integrate with all the billing system in China, it should work, right? No, it doesn't. So Windrunner, which is a very, very massively popular Japanese and game on line and Korea, they came to China, they worked with one of the biggest platforms, 360, and 360 give them heaps and loads of traffic, like over like 50 million traffic in just a month. None of the publisher ever have got something like that because 360 is like, well, we are publishing this is our first title that we're publishing, we can give it a lot of traffic. And developer decide, you know what, I'm not going to change the game. What happened? After a month, they're not even in top 10 download charts because people just don't pay. Eventually, platforms decide like, I'm wasting my traffic. I may as well give it to someone like iDreamsky or give it to someone like Zhukong, which actually help me make money with my traffic. So never think about going into China without changing your monetization strategy, and never think about overdoing it. Now, just now, my games have also shared like, you know, some developers decide to ignore China in their launch strategy. They're like, you know, the market is very chaotic, I don't know what to do, there's a lot of work, blah, 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 all kinds of reasons. Let's just ignore it. If I don't launch it, then it's not my problem anymore. So the speed and piracy of clones in China is crazy. All right, it's crazy. The minute you put your app on an Android app store, I don't care which region you're on. You can put it on Canada, you can put it on New Zealand, you can be putting it on South Africa. Your game will be pirated momentarily, all right? So with Fruit Ninja, we have observed it before they got published by iDreamsky. Within an hour, we had 30 major sites having the pirated version already. Within 10 days, all 200 major websites have a pirated version distributing on their website. Within 3 months, if your game is a mega hit, you will start seeing clones. All right? In a year, there's 40 clones. On top of that, your trademark is being registered in China. So ignoring China's strategy means that unless you make a very cautious decision of saying, I will never go into China. I will ignore China for the rest of my life, for the rest of this game, for the rest of this brand. If not, ignoring China means you are just creating a bigger problem for yourself later on.